John, so you mentioned several different aspects now, and blue light came up as well. So do you want to share a little bit about what blue light has to do with the macula, with the carotenoids and the pigments and photoreceptors and our eye health in general?
Yeah, for sure. So one thing I'll explain in terms of light itself, we have the different kind of wavelengths of light that we must contend with, and the different spectrum. So you have the entire electromagnetic radiation spectrum, and people will be familiar with ultraviolet light, okay? Because ultraviolet light has very short wavelengths. It's a lot of energy, and that's why I get sunburn if I don't wear an antioxidant or put on an antioxidant sunscreen. And that's consistent with the whole idea of what we're doing inside the body too. But interestingly, in terms of the eye, high energy ultraviolet light doesn't get to the back of the eye. It gets filtered at the front of the eye. And that's why when a doctor is doing a cataract surgery, she or he will replace the lens with a UV filter as standard. That's primary. So you couldn't just put in a clear lens that didn't have UV filtering capacity. And actually what cataract is basically just the oxidation of the lens, and that lens gets so oxidized, it gets so cloudy, light doesn't get through it, and you go blind from that. So the simple fix is to change the windscreen. That's what we're putting in a new clear lens, but you must have a filter in there. And the reason for that is that the very high energy, short wavelength ultraviolet light would destroy the retina very quickly because of the energy. But we've been created to have a beautiful idea of vision and being able to appreciate the visual light spectrum. So again, within that spectrum, you have different wavelengths. So the shorter wavelengths are that kind of violet blue, and very important to human health. Blue light, okay, circadian rhythm. When we wake up in the morning, there's certain things we should do. We should get some light as quickly, normal light, ideally as quickly as possible, and it sets your whole clock up and off we go. But so blue light though has a cost, because two costs at the fovea. So let me explain what the fovea is. The fovea is kind of what you've depicted here in this lovely image. So this is the very center part of the retina. So we really just focused in on that. And the photoreceptors are here. And the job of the photoreceptors is to receive light. But at the very, very center of our retina, an area called, it's even in the center of the macula, it's called the fovea, the foveola. We have no blue photoreceptor cones. So that causes a problem in terms of visual experience, because if you know photoreceptors to receive the light is scattered, and that scattering creates this very negative result for vision and visual function. So what I'm saying here is that light is really essential. We don't have vision without light, but there's a cost to it. And the first cost is that you could have a suboptimal visual experience. Now, you can apply that logic to day-to-day performance for you and for me, Daria, or you can even get more interesting about it and say, well, what about sports performance? Or what about pilots? Or what about people that have to do really fine detailed visual activities, So that's really nice to understand. So the idea being that we could optimize, and we'll come to the optimization bit. The other piece is that blue light itself causes photooxidative stress, which produces these free radicals again. And the production of these free radicals is problematic if we do not have antioxidants to contend with them. In other words, a free radical is missing an electron. And you know what it does? Look at this image. So it steals the electrons from these photoreceptors and it makes them sick. So these photoreceptors become very unhappy. So the sun is happy doing what it normally does. We have a lot of blue visible light coming from that. And of course, in today's world, we're all exposed to iPads and phones and everything. And I love your image here, right? Because you're showing that in this situation, and this is important to point out, that we have a lot of blue light coming from normal sunlight. It's significantly more than what you get from kind of these new devices. However, the damage to the photoreceptors can be caused by one of two reasons. One is the intensity, which you see the sun has a higher intensity of blue light, so there's more of it. But the other reason is intensity plus time. or times time. So the length, the duration that you're exposed. So you typically don't go out and get exposed to a lot of sunlight. Well, not here in Ireland anyway. It's very seldom. But joking aside, it would do a lot of damage if you spent so much time in the sun that you were, you know, specifically looking towards the sun and had no protection. And in the other situation, so the duration, however, of time, I'm on a light emitting device all day today, all day. And so even though it's low intensity, a lot of time, so both of those can cause damage. So the basic idea is that our carotenoid pigments are lutein, our zeaxanthin, and our meso-zeaxanthin, and they make this beautiful yellow pigment. The two problems that I've just presented, these pigments solve. And what they do is they, in the first instance, they'll filter the light. So we get this filtration effect, which means that we don't have that negative light scattering and low visual experience. So that's good. And that's why we've been able to demonstrate in sports performers, in healthy population, that if we just optimize their pigments with supplementation, we can give them a better performance of vision. So that's really cool. But the second reason then is in terms of the oxidative stress piece. So we want to keep these photoreceptors, see these photoreceptors look nice and healthy, whereas these ones are quite sick. And your images do a nice job of showing that. So by simple optimization, we can keep it healthy and we can perform better. So we applied that logic to major trials that we've conducted, the trials known as the CREST trials. And we studied two populations. And you know, we spent several million euros of taxpayers' money, government money. And we had two research questions. One, we said that in the healthy population, by supplementation with lutein, zeaxanthin, and meso-zeaxanthin, we can enrich this pigment and we can create a better visual performance. And we did this in what's called a placebo-controlled trial. And our hypothesis was proven to be correct. We demonstrated significant improvement. So that was wonderful. And then when we went to so in the disease age-related macular degeneration, the macula gets sick. We have this early stage called, which you see as drusen changes. So basically the retina stops cleaning itself and we get this clog up of these druses. And ultimately these are the triggers that lead to inflammation. So what we did in the second part of the experiment was we took patients at early stage, so they'd just been diagnosed. In other words, their photoreceptors were starting to get sick, if you like. Drusen was starting to accumulate there, and we enriched their pigment. And when we used the lutein, zeaxanthin, and meso-zeaxanthin carotenoids, not only did their disease not progress at a significant rate, their vision got significantly better. So we changed their quality of life in a 2-year period. In a disease where they normally lose their vision, we gave them better vision. And that was the CREST, Central Retinal Enrichment Supplementation Trial, CREST. And both of those are published.